What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of SEC Talk with Holden and Cody. I flipped this thing around and I've got me on top and Cody on bottom, so maybe we can use up a little bit of the stuff on the side instead of the bottom. Cody told me about this in the past because I kept trying to figure it out, and he was like, dude, I already told you this. Go figure, I didn't have it figured out perfectly. So, Cody?
He was talking when I was talking, so he never heard me.
Yeah. Well, I tell you guys what, we're going to do things a little bit differently. You know, we normally always start with news, and then we jump into the main core content of stuff. A lot of the news that we have to talk about is going to revolve around one major game that involves a couple of teams that are going to be playing this weekend. So we'll get to the news in a little bit. Yeah, you're not representing very well, but that's okay. But anyways, so what we're going to do
real quick.
What we're going to do here is we're going to preview the games in the league that are being played. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's start completely opposite than we normally do. We'll go over a couple of games that are actually not in the league at all. Some games outside of the league, mainly top 25. Then we'll jump into games in the league. Then we'll talk about a couple that have been postponed. Then we'll get to your news. Then we'll talk about the big Alabama-Georgia game that's coming up this weekend. And if you see Cody acting funny, you can't help it. The Braves are in Game 4 of the NLCS, and we're up 8-2 in the 8th right now. So, big game. Not a good game last night. So,
well. Yeah. Oh, yeah, we're not talking about last night.
Yeah, if you see us looking over here, that's why video. Obviously, podcast, you're like, guys, I don't care. Let's get on with it. So, let's get on with it. Let's talk about some football. Cody, the first piece of football stuff that I have that's come up here is your Louisiana, man. Your Raging Cajuns got taken down last night by Coastal Carolina.
This is an undefeated team.
30-27. That's true. That's true. You want to talk about that a little bit? While you do that, I'm going to go ahead and pop up our top 25 and the games around the SEC that we've got coming up this weekend.
Really, because they kind of hurt my feelings. I like my Raging Cajuns.
Oh, baby.
But at least it was to Coastal Carolina by a field goal. I'll take it.
Yeah, it's true.
The only reason I like them just because of the name. I mean, I'm not even going to lie. That's the only reason I like them, because of the name.
Because you like sitting there saying Raging Cajun. Go ahead and let me hear it one time.
The Raging Cajuns.
You can't help it, ladies and gentlemen.
It's not like the other one I do, but I can't do it on here.
Well, anyways, you want to talk about it any?
Not really.
Not really? Okay, well, easy enough. All right, moving on to it. You got a couple of games coming up Friday night.
That's it.
You got number 17 SMU taking on Tulane. SMU comes in as a 6.5-point favorite. That one's going to be in Louisiana, New Orleans. Then you got BYU and Houston that are taking on a couple of good games there. Again, that being Friday night.
I'll get feedback. Sorry.
You're good. So that's going to be a.
I was like, sorry.
Anyways, for you podcast listeners, hang in with us. We're going to get you entertained in a minute. BYU and Houston taking on. That's your Friday night game. Cody, you got your Saturday night games. Let's keep it in the top 25 right now. Outside of, if you know, a couple of big ones outside of the top 20. Do you have any in front of you?
I did.
So you don't.
Then I clicked on the.
All right.
Let me explain.
Let's hear it.
My internet's being slow, man.
I get that. It's always slow. It matches right up there along with both of us.
Yeah, exactly. If you want to take care of not top 25, they're big. I know Army has a big game this week, or not really a big game, but they got a game this week. They're playing somebody.
All right, well, that's good information. Well, I'll roll through the top 25 games that we got coming up anyways. Starting at your 12 o'clock.
I'm working.
At your 12 o'clock slate, you got Clemson, Georgia Tech taking on each other. They're in Tech in Atlanta. Also at 12 o'clock on the ACC Network, you got Pitt taking on Miami. Rolling past a couple of your SEC games, of course, we'll get to those. At 2:30, you got on the NBC. It's not network, but just NBC is a network. Anyways, Louisville taking on Notre Dame. Notre Dame at home there in the number 4 spot. 7:30 on ABC, you got North Carolina and Florida State. Watch out, North Carolina. You are ranked 5th. Florida State might come up and give you some trouble there. They got a quarterback on their hands. Jumping down to the 8 o'clock hour, you got Boston College taking on number 23 Virginia Tech. That one will also be on the ACC Network. A couple of postponements in your top 25 outside, again, of the SEC. As number 7 Oklahoma State and Baylor have been postponed, and number 8 Cincinnati, and Tulsa. So that's your games around the league in the top 25. Do you have any outside of the top 25 that you wanted to go over? Did you find your Army game?
I think they're coming up. I'll just do this real quick. Get to the portable. Hey, there. Okay. Of course, as soon as I freaking do it, it's gonna pop up.
Yeah, this is fantastic audio for you guys that are listening.
Sorry,
in.
podcasters.
It's all good. I'll play some background music here for them, some drums, while Cody figures out what he's trying to figure out here.
Well, you already got 25. That's the one that pulled up. Cincinnati also got postponed too. Number 8 Cincinnati.
Yep.
I don't know if you said that or not.
Yeah, that was the last one.
Probably did. No. I'm here, guys. That counts for anything. Seriously, guys? Like, seriously? Do I not have...
Are any coming to you off the top of your head? I mean, I can always look here if you want me to.
I thought it was loading at one point. I had this set up beforehand, I swear.
Well, I'll tell you what.
I don't want top 20.
Do this, so we can keep this thing rolling so this train doesn't fall apart. The SEC games that are on the side of the screen
It's already falling apart, dude.
Do you at least have the SEC games that are this weekend outside of the ones that are being postponed, and obviously outside of Georgia, Alabama, which we'll get to last?
Yeah, I mean, I got the top 25 pulled up finally.
All right, we'll run through the SEC top 25 games that'll be played this weekend.
So, starting off on the SEC slate, number 15 Auburn taking on unranked South Carolina at 12 o'clock on ESPN. Following that, at the same time, you have unranked Kentucky taking on number 18 Tennessee at 12 o'clock on the SEC network. Ole Miss taking on Arkansas at 3:30 on the SEC network, following the Kentucky-Tennessee game. And then following the Auburn, South Carolina, you have Texas A&M and Mississippi State.
There you go. That's the SEC. A couple of games that he was talking about, like I said, outside of your top 25. You actually got right now that's playing. You got Georgia State and Arkansas State. The score is 49-52. With just over 7.5 minutes still left in the game. And it's 49-52. Arkansas State's up. Just barely there. A couple of other games, again, outside of the top 25. Navy's taking on East Carolina. Let's see if I can find Liberty and Syracuse. That one will be a good one. Liberty's 4-0 on the season. They're actually favored by 3. That one will be on ESPN 3. Army and UTSA was the one that you were talking about. Army 4-1, UTSA 3-2. Army's a 7.5 point favorite. That one will be at 1:30 on the CBS Sports Network. See if I see a couple other good ones. UCF will take on Memphis. That'll be a good one on ABC at 3:30. That UCF comes in as a 3-point favorite there. Ole Miss, Arkansas, like you said. Eastern Kentucky, Troy. UMass will take on Georgia Southern. Southern ought to be able to take care of business there. Virginia taking on Wake Forest. Marshall and taking on Louisiana Tech. That should be a good one. That was at 6 o'clock on CBS Sports Network as well. And that's pretty much it outside of some of your postponed games. Let me go ahead and give another shout-out like I've done in the past here. This is the SEC Network, or not SEC Network, but this is the SEC Football Podcast I was telling you guys about. It's got your scores for the games that would be played this weekend. And if you hit that audio button right there, boom, SEC Talk, the podcast. Just hit it. There's all different kind of ones in here, but SEC Talk, right there in the middle, you can listen to us. Just hit it. Again, you can go through news. I mean, there's all kind of stuff that'll pop up here. But the coolest part about it to me is you can look up the scores, and it's got your bet lines basically right there. So another shout-out to those guys. Nice enough to put our podcast up there for us. Quick and easy, so you can hit it if you guys wanted to. I don't know why Cody's feeling quite the way that he is. Let me watch.
Real quick,
let me
Braves,
watch and see.
Yeah, watch this replay.
What in the world?
That's what I'm saying. A simple routine play, and it happens.
It happens. You know.
I believe it's safe to say the wheels have fallen off for the Dodgers in this game.
I don't want to say it yet. There's still 2 innings to go. Let's keep it rolling here with this. All right.
All right.
So
Anyways, football.
we've hit games outside of your league. We've hit games inside of the league. I'm going through. What I'm gonna do real quick is just give you some of the bet lines. I'm not gonna update them on the screen for you, but we're gonna go through them just for the games that are in the SEC real quick. And that was Auburn, South Carolina. Auburn, as of right now, this is Thursday night, but it's going to be fairly close to this come Saturday because it's late Thursday night. Auburn is a 3-point favorite. The over-under on that was 51.5. It's kind of surprising to see Auburn be that close. I know South Carolina played good against Vandy, but I actually look for Auburn to probably take care of business on this one.
We're good. I don't have the over-under. I got the bet lines, though.
All right, yeah. No, you're good. Then you got Kentucky and Tennessee. The line on that one's Tennessee's a 6-point favorite. Over-under is 46. Kind of the same thing. I think Kentucky was playing a little good. They played pretty good against Mississippi State, obviously, defensively. But I got a feeling Tennessee might roll up on Kentucky right here. And we'll see how things kind of shake out with that one. Again, the LSU-Florida game and the other. Oh, yeah, here's our line. Was
Vandy and Missouri postponed.
The other one that's not top 25 is Ole Miss and Arkansas. Ole Miss is a 2-point favorite coming into that one. So after they're high-powered, I think Arkansas might actually hold them kind of tight on that. And that we'll get to our picks on the week at least a little bit later on the screen. I'm gonna pull it up for you again here. This is the SEC East ranking as we come into this week. Georgia is at the top 3-0, Florida and Tennessee at 2-1. Kentucky, Mizzou, South Carolina at 1-2, Vandy at 0-3. Looking at the SEC West real quick. Alabama, your only undefeated team there at the top, just like Georgia, 3-0, Texas A&M and Auburn 2-1. Everybody else, Ole Miss, Arkansas, Mississippi State, LSU, all at 1-2 as we go through. And without further ado, Cody, let's jump into it. It's time to talk some news. And some of that news we can basically reflect right off of the LSU-Florida game and the Vandy-Mizzou. LSU, let's start. Vandy-Mizzou, corona issues. They have to postpone. LSU-Florida. Florida, the last thing we heard was Dan Mullen said, I want to put 90,000 in the swamp. And I'm not going to discredit him because the coronavirus is a real thing. And this is going to be one of the only times you're going to hear me give, not praise, but not really harp on Dan Mullen's, what he said. But next time he probably should think about that, before he just shouts that out, especially now that his team has turned around and, just been hammered by this. So obviously that postponed the game. And then the biggest news broke. Cody, take it away with it. Biggest news of the night hit what?
I don't want to do it.
Right? You don't want to? All right, I'll do it. So yesterday.
No, I'll do it.
Go ahead.
I think it was right around lunch. News came out of Alabama. Our athletic director got the coronavirus, or tested positive for the coronavirus, along with Nick Saban.
Yeah.
But he's asymptomatic, and per the NCAA rules, he has to have 3 negative tests, and it has to be asymptomatic before he can return back.
Yep.
We got 2 days before kickoff. He better start sticking some swabs up his nose quick.
I'm fairly certain that they've already ruled it because he has to have multiple hours previous to have.
No. It says he has to show 3 positive or 3 negatives and be asymptomatic. Because he has never showed symptoms. He doesn't have to wait that 72 hours.
So you're telling me.
This is coming off ESPN.
So you're telling me if Nick Saban, Saturday morning.
There's a chance.
Listen, you're telling me if Nick Saban, based on what you just said, if Nick Saban woke up Saturday morning, stuck something up his nose, got a negative. Saturday mid-morning, stuck another thing up his nose, got a negative. Saturday after lunch, stuck something up his nose, got a negative. Then he's considered okay?
From what I was reading on ESPN, that's what they said. Look it up.
I believe you. But I'm gonna go ahead and tell you.
You don't.
I'm gonna go ahead and tell you.
You're a Georgia fan.
No, I believe you, but I don't think that him testing negative 3 times like that. He's not gonna be coaching Saturday. That's all there is to it. Unfortunately for Alabama.
But what they were saying that because NCAA's rules also dictates that he can't coach at all.
Mm.
So he can't call
even
the press
distantly.
box.
Nope.
No, not distant, which is, I don't understand that.
I do.
Because my thing is, well, I mean, I do to an extent.
During a game, I do. Now, pre-game, I don't care if he calls or if I do feel bad for whatever kid's having to hold an iPad on his chest or strap it to his chest or running around with a laptop and is having to keep up and is basically sitting here, listening to Nick yelling at people while he's turning the thing so everybody can see. But I don't care if he coaches every second up until the game. I think they said 90 minutes before the game, that's the cutoff, and he can't talk to anybody until 90 minutes after the game.
Yeah.
And rightfully so. I'm not going to be the one that's out here a stickler that says, oh, he shouldn't do that. But I will say this. You have Nick Saban knows what's going on sitting at field level. You have coordinators that are up top. They can see down and see what's going on. Us on TV, we can obviously see a lot and you hear a lot. Nick Saban being a head coach, he's on the field, so he doesn't necessarily get that same perspective. He's been doing it long enough. He knows what's going on, so it doesn't matter. And the other side of it is he is going to put his team in the best position he can to win, even though he's not there. And he's going to put Steve Sarkisian in the spot to get the job done just as well. So the only thing that you and I talked about earlier was
hopefully
Alabama fans are not going to give Georgia credit for beating Nick Saban if Nick Saban's not there if Georgia was to win the game. It's not going to happen. That's the unfortunate side of it. That's why I wish, first of all, prayers to him. Luckily, Georgia he's asymptomatic.
Beats Bama. Oh, yeah. But here's my thing, and Bama fans can hate me all they want to. If Georgia beats Bama this weekend, Kirby beats Saban. Because Saban had to get this team ready for this weekend, just like Kirby did.
Yep. And the way I always argue something like that. It don't matter if he's there or
not.
Yeah, the way that I always argue something like that is I say, all right, if you say that if Georgia was to beat Alabama and Nick Saban's not there, that it's not a true win over Nick Saban, I want you to think of it this way. If Kirby Smart wasn't there this weekend and Nick Saban was, and Alabama beat Georgia, that's a win for y'all over Kirby Smart's team, right? Absolutely. So there you go. I'll make the same iteration I did preseason. If you think that this season doesn't count, but your team wins the championship, and all of a sudden you say, yeah, this season counts, you need to have the same mindset throughout it all, whether your team wins or your team doesn't. You need to go ahead and have it in your mind. All right, if we win the championship, this season matters. If we lose the championship, this season matters. So. Just a thought. That's from me, coming from a Georgia fan.
No, yeah. I mean, this ain't UCF.
No.
So, but at the same time, I don't want to hear Georgia fans saying, well, Nick Saban didn't really beat Kirby because he wasn't there. No. If Bama beats Auburn or Georgia, Saban's team beat Kirby's team.
Yeah. If they beat anybody, for that matter, yeah.
Either he's going to yeah, I mean, if Saban's there or not, it doesn't matter, if he's there or if he's not there. Either way, end of this weekend, either he'll be 22-0 or 21-1.
Yep.
And I've said it all year. I said it last year. I said it as soon as Kirby went to Georgia. The only assistant coach that could beat Saban is Kirby Smart. Yeah. Because I made the point at my work, because I'm the only Bama fan there now. But I made the point that, look, the only reason I can confidently say Kirby will probably be the only one, Lane be the second one. Lane and Kirby are the only two coaches that could beat Saban.
Yeah.
But the reason for Kirby is because of the way he coaches. If you look at that Georgia team, you can hate it all you want to, but that is an Alabama-based team. Yep. Look at the way they play.
Yep.
Where does it all start? In the trench.
Yep. Most of it's defensively, yeah.
Yeah. Where do you think that came from? Yeah, Kirby's a great defensive coordinator. But he had to learn from somebody. Even Lane Kiffin said in the interview before the Alabama-Ole Miss game, he said, I would not be at Ole Miss if it wouldn't have been for Saban. Yeah. He had the fallout at UCS. USC. I'll get it right sooner or later. And when he was head coaching out there and it just bottomed out there, he got into all that trouble. Saban gave him another shot as a coordinator for Alabama. Then he got the job in Tennessee in 09. Or, no, yeah, in 09. 09 or 12. It was one of the two. 12, I think.
You're the Alabama fan.
I don't know how. I barely remember my own birthday, man.
Oh, come on.
Then he went down to USF and then went to Ole Miss.
Was it USF or was he at FIU or FAI?
FAI. It's
Florida Atlantic.
Freaking Florida, too.
Florida Atlantic.
Atlantic International.
Atlantic in
FAI.
It don't matter. One of the Florida teams down there.
It's one of them Florida.
If we can mess it up, we just messed it up, didn't we?
Oh, we just bombed it, man.
Oh well. Anyway, he was down there in Florida.
He was down there, and then he went to Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Even he said that if it had not been for Saban, I wouldn't be here at Ole Miss.
Yeah. I was gonna get mad if Lane come in his first year at Ole Miss and took Saban down. I was finna get mad. Which I'll tell you this, Kirby has played. He's on as much as everybody wants to talk about it. Kirby's been there since 2016. He's been at Georgia for 4 years, but Alabama and Georgia have only played twice, back-to-back years. One a national championship where Georgia did what Georgia teams do and had it won and lost it. Thank you Falcons. Thank you Dogs. Thank you Braves. Anyways, moving on. And then he turns around and does it again the next year in the SEC championship. I hope.
Yeah, so far good.
I hope.
But yeah, I mean, I said as soon as Kirby left Alabama, I was like, he'd be the one to beat Saban.
Yeah. And we'll see. We'll see how things go.
That's
I know
so
you and
weird.
I know you and I talked about it earlier.
So slow, dude.
It's
anyways.
okay. It's okay. Yours is too. We ain't got to talk about it. But anyways, the thing that you and I were talking about was more than likely the way that everything is lined up so far. You have Alabama and Georgia at the top of the East and the West. More than likely, at the end of the season, these two teams are going to be at the top of the East and West and play again.
Oh, yeah.
And I've said it before. You've said it before. I think a lot of people believe this. It is extremely difficult to beat a team twice in a year. Take Georgia, Auburn just a couple of years ago. Auburn whoops Georgia in the regular season. Georgia whoops them in the SEC championship. You go back a few years behind that, LSU, Alabama. LSU gets the win in the regular season. Alabama turns around and gets the win in the SEC championship. It's very hard to beat a team twice. Is that how it works?
National championship.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot that was
last year.
BCS.
It was the last year of the BCS. And we played LSU, and they crossed the 50 one time. And Alabama's offense and defense showed up for that game.
Oh, I thought the last year of BCS was 13 when Auburn played Oregon.
No, last year was Alabama LSU because the whole reason for the playoff system was to keep two SEC teams out, and then the next year they had two SEC teams in there, or the following year when Alabama and Georgia both went to it. I'm like, you just gave us more options to get into it.
Yeah, it's kind of taking a turn, but I will say I do agree with the guys when they say that they should not expand the. Now there's some years I think it would be good. A couple of times it's happened where I was like, if you had a 6 team, it would be good. This year, on the other hand, Clemson, Alabama, Ohio State when they start playing, Georgia, possibly Florida, Notre Dame. But at the top of those, Clemson's above everybody right now. Alabama and Georgia are a step behind. We hadn't seen Ohio State yet, but more than likely, those are the 4 teams at the end of the true season, whenever that date comes up, which is going to be the middle of December for everybody, basically. By that time, those more than likely are going to be the teams that you see that are sitting at the top of that totem pole. So this is a year that you don't need that expansion. Why do you need a team, say a Clemson, to maybe play a South Carolina that may make a difference? Maybe Mac Jones has been doing some good stuff down there, but why do you need a team to have to play somebody like that for the possibility of? Listen, I tell you what, we ain't got to talk no more about it because it's not happening. 1, but 2, it's a conversation for another day. We don't have to be the judge.
We'll cover that in a later podcast.
Which I did hear that they did pass that there is now the 1 transfer rule in college football, so you now can have 1 free transfer. Once you come into a school, you get 1 free transfer Good Lord Almighty. One free
Boy,
transfer to any
are
school.
you a
No,
butcher?
no, hold on. Yeah, I butchered that, didn't
Well, that thing went to the grinder.
I? I'm telling you. Well, anyways, back into the Georgia Alabama conversation.
Okay.
I got some numbers for you here. The matchup, which we've all known coming into this, Alabama's offense is off the charts good. And as of right now, when I look at
Yeah.
the numbers, Alabama's scoring points per game leads not only the Power 5 but also leads the SEC. Alabama's yard per play, it leads the Power 5 and the SEC. Alabama's what is YPA? Is it yard per attempt? Maybe
Yards per attempt.
that's it.
Yeah.
12.7 leads both of those categories. Completion percentage leads both of those categories. Third down percentage leads both of those categories. They come in second on total yards per game, come in second on both of those, and passing yards per game, come in second on first downs per game. The only number that doesn't match up quite as great is they're 14th in the Power 5 in rushing yards per game, and they're third in the SEC in rushing yards per game. Now, the other side of that ball, we know how powerhouse and good Alabama's offense is. The game that they get to play against is the number one team in the nation on defense, which is the Dogs. This is how we compare. Whereas Alabama is first offensively scoring per points per game, Georgia's defense is first in Power 5 and the SEC, holding teams to just 12.3. They're also first in total yards per game, holding teams to 236 yards per game. Also first in both categories in yards per play. Also first in both categories for rushing yards per game. And then we start to split up a little bit in passing yards per game. They're seventh, first in the SEC. And yards per attempt, we're second in Power 5, first in the SEC. Completion percentage on third down, and this is going to make a big difference. Or this is just completion percentage. Ninth in the Power 5, but first in the SEC. Third down percentage, which is what I've always said. It comes down to you're first in the Power 5 and the SEC at this, whereas the Dogs in the Power 5 is ninth, but we're first in the SEC as far as holding teams down. So we match up perfectly SEC-wise. Third down conversion, like I say, sixth and second. First downs a game. Defensively, we're second in the Power 5, first in the SEC. So you get the powerhead. You get the strong Alabama offense and that strong Georgia defense that get to compete. We get to match up and we get to see. You and I have talked about it. The biggest question and concern I have is not the front seven for Georgia, because I think if Georgia's that's right. I think if Georgia's front seven can lock down the run game, at least slow down Najee Harris, if not stop him. I don't think we'll stop him, but I think if we can slow him down and hold him, under 60 yards in the entire game. Same thing with Robinson. He's another good running back for you guys. If we can slow that down and if we can get to Mac Jones before he can get to those wide receivers, Georgia stands a chance. But it's going to be about Georgia's secondary. Can we slow down those wide receivers enough to make a difference? How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, we talked earlier about it, and with the wide receivers we have with Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith, and Mitchie, with those three alone, you get three speed demons right there.
Yeah.
And we saw what they did against Ole Miss. Yeah, there's no defense in that game, but even when our defense made a little bit of a stop, as soon as Ole Miss made, they stopped. They put a little bit of pressure on Matt Jones and stopped a few passes, but then the running game took off.
Yeah.
Najee Harris coming off his best game in his career with 5 rushing touchdowns, tying his record. With Jalen Waddle's speed, Devontae Smith's speed, and Mitchie's with his speed, and even with Najee Harris, because Najee Harris can come to the backfield and catch passes. We've seen him do it.
Oh, yeah.
Georgia's
and if you give him space, he's moving.
Oh, hell yeah. If you don't get him the first 5 yards, he'll get 7, 8 of it, guaranteed. Yeah. You have to stop him within that first 5. But we've seen before, as soon as you think you have him stopped, he'll bust outside.
Yeah, it ain't over yet.
And we saw Georgia against LSU or against Tennessee. I'm sorry, against Tennessee. They had a little bit of pressure on Jarrett Quintina that first half, but he was still making pay. Yeah, I screwed his last name.
It's all right.
Everybody does.
Yeah, they had the two bus plays, like you're saying.
And, I mean, that's going to be the difference. But I think also the difference in this game is one of the biggest questions we had answered. Will home field advantage matter? We saw it against Tennessee and Georgia. It mattered. Georgia has to go to Alabama.
Yep. Luckily, it's not a full stadium, but it still is plenty.
It's not a full
You're still
stadium,
going to have 25,000
but you're going to have some loud noise.
Oh, yeah.
It's a night game, too.
25,000 is still a lot of people. I mean, granted, Alabama has the knockoff Georgia lights, Still, it's going to be a good raucous atmosphere.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be – atmosphere's going to be there.
Yeah.
But it's going to be – that's one of the biggest questions we had at the beginning of the year, will home field advantage matter?
Yeah.
We've seen that answer several times already.
Yep. If you can make a guy snap, that's where discipline comes into play. Now, here's another stat for you. Mac Jones comparison in kind of some of the Georgia defense again. Mac Jones comes in 80% completion rating, 367 yards per game. His QBR is 95. He's thrown 8 touchdowns, 1 interception. On the defensive side, Georgia leads the category in SEC in 56% completion percentage, holding teams to 198 passing yards, and having a QBR rating of 9 for, again, that being the defense. Whereas Georgia's defense has got 3 touchdowns defensively alone, 5 of those being interceptions. I think there were maybe 2 pick six, 1 scoop and score, maybe 2 scoop and scores. But either way, 5 interceptions so far on the year. And the biggest difference in Georgia's defense this year and last year it took Georgia a few games before we ever got in the backfield. Whereas so far, I think we've already been in the backfield multiple times this season to be able to wreak havoc. And you're going to have to do that against Mac. You're going to have to put pressure on him to be able to either force him to make mistakes or, to get him to flush out of the pocket to make different things happen, which is tougher for the secondary because you got to stick with them longer. But one thing I want the Dogs to remember coming into this game, don't forget they got another quarterback hanging out somewhere in the wings because they always seem to come out of nowhere. But
watch out for Bryce Young.
Yeah. I will say on the turn.
We've seen Saban do it before.
I will say on the turn of that, though, watch out for JT Daniels because it could happen. We might do it to you, too.
But see, that's the thing is we haven't seen JT Daniels at all this season.
Yeah.
We thought he was going to get some playing time here. Georgia has not played him at all this year.
Nope. But he's getting reps in practice. You see it and you hear about it.
Yeah. But, I mean, it kind of makes you, when they were playing Tennessee, we all thought, throw him in there for a few snaps. Just let him, get some playing time. Kirby didn't play him at all. I'm willing to bet Kirby's trying to pull a Saban in the national championship game.
I'm not going to call it.
Let me keep this quarterback.
I'm not going to call it a Saban. Hidden. I thought about it, but if you remember 2 weeks ago, this is what I said. I said there could be some Saban-esque guru stuff going on, but the difference in what Saban has done, Saban's put 2 in there in fourth quarter to get some experience and do get some experience basically. JT has had experience at USC and has been good is one thing.
That's
but
my difference
not
too.
Showing a card makes a big difference too.
That too, but
or he might not be ready. He may just not be ready.
That could be it too. But another sense, put him in there, get some playing time, which is fine. And we talk about it. Everybody talks about it all the time. With SEC's defenses like they are, it don't matter who you're playing. And this year has showed it. Whether it's Vandy, which Vandy's, we'll take them off. Never mind, scratch that. Whether it's Arkansas, Mississippi State, Texas A&M, Ole Miss, defense in the SEC are tough. They're going to come after a quarterback.
Breaking news right here: the Atlanta Braves take Game 4 and move to 3-1, leading the NLCS, and we'll move on to Game 5 tomorrow, which is fantastic. So the Braves just need one more to go to the World Series. That's a little bit of news outside of it. Back to your Alabama, Georgia here. Yeah, you make a great point. And one thing I will say for everybody is Alabama's not going to play like they did last week against Ole Miss. They are always going to play Georgia better, and their defense, Georgia's going to make their defense look a lot better.
Well, let's talk about this real quick because I brought this up with some of the other people I work with because they're like, well, Ole Miss embarrassed Alabama's offense. Ole Miss embarrassed the crap out of Alabama's offense.
Yep.
But the reason they did because they do – or defense. There it is.
Braves won.
This one. Ole Miss did something that very few teams can do is run a fast-paced, no-huddle offense.
Yep.
Most times you see a team run fast-paced, no-huddle, you go 3 plays. Then huddle up, 2-3 plays. Huddle up to give their line a break. Ole Miss did not do that.
Nope.
Ole Miss got on the pedal, and they knew we got to keep pressure on that defense. Because I will say Lane Kiffin did know that one secret that if you can keep pressure on our offense, we can't do nothing. And it showed. The thing on Georgia is not set up like that.
Yeah.
Nothing against JT or Stetson Bennett or the offensive coordinator. They're not set up this year for that. You know, you don't have enough. I ain't trying to sound mean about it, but you don't have enough talent in the backfield for that.
Running back wise or quarterback wise?
Like just all together.
I don't know. I put it to you this way.
Let me rephrase that. You don't have enough experience on the offensive side of the ball.
All right, so
because you do have a lot of players coming in, you know, and for that to happen, you have to have a lot of discipline.
Oh yeah.
At that line of scrimmage, and we done seen. I'm throwing them out there. That number 1 wide receiver from Georgia, George Pickens, has not learned that discipline yet.
He's probably learned discipline, but he's immature, and I think he's bored. I think he's bored out of his mind because he's a great wideout, but he's just not getting the ball.
Well, I mean, my thing is too. I mean, that's fine, but
2 things
with that play against Tennessee when you were squirting water on Jarrett, that's immature.
Very.
That is like.
I laugh, but it's stupid. It really is.
That's like JV.
Could you imagine if he had done that against an Alabama player? Let's just say Mac Jones got pushed out of bounds. Najee Harris. Could you imagine if he did that against y'all? And it gives you I ain't worried about that. I don't care about that. But it gives you
fire underneath that team's ass.
It also gives you 15 yards where if Georgia's defense is locking somebody down, 15 yards, it can be a flip of a switch. If you're on the 45, all of a sudden, look at here, you're sitting on the other team's 40-yard line. It makes a huge difference.
Oh.
I thought I lost Cody there for a second.
You froze there. Also, okay. You're like...
Sorry.
But, I mean, like you said, though, that's where that discipline comes in. That was the biggest question we had at the beginning of the year for Pickens was, is he disciplined enough?
Yeah.
And with that play right there, it shows that he's still immature.
So 2 things
and
on
with
it.
the way, but here's my thing too.
Go ahead.
With the way our defense is and the way, you know, they like to jaw at each other.
Oh yeah.
Cause we see it all the time. They're going to jaw at each other. Can he keep that under control?
Yeah. That will be a question.
They're going to push that. I can see that. They're going to push that button.
That's definitely going to be a question to see. But the other side of it that I'm looking at is Kearis Jackson has broke out this year. D-Rob is back. Trey McKitty, the FSU transfer, he's back on the tight end. You've got a lot of guys that are coming out and exposing. The thing that I think is going to happen is teams are going to start paying more attention to that. And what's going to happen with that number 1 on the side? He's going to stay quiet, hopefully. And he's just going to pay his own mind, and eventually he's going to start getting loose. And all it takes is one breakout game, him build that confidence, start getting things rolling again, and all of a sudden he can become a true rough player again for somebody because he just hadn't touched the ball very much.
I mean, not really. I mean, JT Daniel only had 84 attempts this year with 53 completions.
Who you talking about?
Or Bennett. I'm sorry, I don't know why I said Daniels.
Yeah.
But, I mean, and 19 of those are to Jackson.
Yep, Kearis. Yep. And rightfully so, though, because, I mean, he has emerged as a key player.
But now,
we have
at the
guys
same time,
there. We just got – and he's spreading the ball out pretty good, but Kearis has become his go-to guy. That's just how it is.
He has half his receiving yards.
Yeah.
Whereas Matt Jones has 1,000 yards on the season, Waddle's been targeted 19 times out of 83 attempts.
Yeah.
For
But
Matt Jones
then
and
you
only
look at-
396 yards.
Yeah, but then you look at Devontae Smith, and he's got a heap load of them. And now your other guy, Michi.
That's what I'm saying. Michi's getting targeted because
he's coming out.
offense or defenses are like, okay, we got to take care of Waddle and Devontae. Well, then there goes Michi.
Here comes another guy.
Get him covered. Well, then there goes the tight end. It's like,
Yeah.
what do we do?
Yeah.
And then by the time you get all four of them covered up, guess what? Here comes Harris.
Yep.
Or Robinson. That's the secret I think that's going to be in this game is, and the difference I can see in this game is the level of leadership coming out of the backfield at quarterback.
Yeah.
Matt Jones, to me, compared to Stetson Bennett, has him on the books.
Oh well, yeah. I mean that's an obvious thing. If you look preseason,
Oh yeah,
Mac Jones was picked to be the starter, but everybody thought that Bryce
Young,
Bryce
they
Young
thought
would
just
take him
because of him being a dual threat quarterback.
Well, yeah, I mean I get it, but regardless,
you can understand
Mac
that.
Jones came in preseason as the guy. Stetson Bennett was still working with the scout team coming in preseason. He was not even a thought, and he has come in and got the job
They were
done.
going to go with. I mean, you had the initial transfer transfer coming in.
But you would go through 3 names before you ever got to Stetson Bennett in the thought that he would start. Now, I'll tell you this. I'm not going to put every egg in the basket for it because I do think that every fan right now is all lit up about it. But the thing about it is Georgia's team is behind him. They've gotten behind him. They're with it. He shows a different kind of confidence
that's
in
the
it.
thing, too.
He was also, give me a second now, he was also the scout team when we played Oklahoma in the Rose Bowl, and everybody praised him for how good he was and how much he prepared them for Baker Mayfield. So he's not a bad player. He's got experience. He's working at getting confidence, but I do think that he's only a couple of bad plays away or giving a game up for the whole fan base to drop him, even though the team's got his back. And my hope is that we don't. Now, if we get into real bad trouble and we're down a lot and the offense just is not clicking, you have to. Just like in Game 1 against Arkansas when DeJuan Mathis was in, you make a change to get stuff moving. And if JT Daniels, DeJuan Mathis, whoever can come in and make that happen and get the ball moving, so be it. But for time being, Stetson Bennett's the man. Obviously, Mac Jones has got his number. He's got wide receivers that can get 150 yards a game. Whereas we're not air raiding it quite like that.
And
I will say
Georgia
this.
have been more air raid this year too.
Yeah, with Todd Monken and especially with JT Daniels being there, you would think if you put those two together, you're throwing 350 yards a game.
Oh yeah, easily. But
Now,
they're not together.
again-
You're with Stetson Bennett.
Again, you got this guy sitting over here in the back that it's like, just keep an eye out because if this guy comes out here and all of a sudden these wide receivers are getting loose like Ole Miss again. If you see Georgia go out there and try to run like Ole Miss does, Georgia's going to lose the football game. That's not the way Georgia plays football. We pound the rock.
You're going to see big mistakes.
We pound the rock, and you will get up tempo from time to time. Generally, it's in the red zone, and it's 2 minute down that Georgia runs that hyper offense, which is good because usually it's successful. Now, again, if we get out there and we just try to run the ball like that, I'm going to sit back and go, listen, don't lose your identity because that's what worked against somebody else. I get it, but if that's not your team and y'all don't know how to do it, you can't. You just can't do that.
If Georgia comes out trying to do that, you're going to see more mistakes on the offensive side.
Oh, yeah.
And then what's going to end up happening, they're going to be like, okay, that's not working, that's not working, that's not working. What do we do? No, we'll go back to how we used to play. Well, by the time you do that,
it's too late.
You're looking at third quarter coming out of halftime, and Bama's coming up with their foot on your throat.
Yeah, and that's hard to come back from.
Because I will say, if Bama goes into halftime with a lead over a touchdown, I got a feeling they're not going to let up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, Alabama's never going to let up.
And that's the secret that we've seen, and the big question is, how is Georgia's defense going to look?
Yeah.
Are we talking first half against Arkansas? Second half against Auburn?
Well, yeah, you're speaking offensively, not defensively, because one thing consistently throughout Georgia's defense in all 3 games is Georgia has locked down the run. And for the most part, we've locked down the pass as well. Obviously,
I'm saying, like,
you
with
had
the Arkansas game,
one play in the Arkansas game where the secondary And Kirby said that actually wasn't a busted play. The play was just not. We didn't commit to how we were supposed to. That was supposed to be a play where the guy never even got loose. It wasn't a bust. Now the two in the Tennessee game were. You did have a better quarterback, but they were also great throws. If you looked, at least one time, the guy was behind the secondary, which is always a scary thing. But the other time was the guy's draped all over him. He just made a great catch, which is one thing. But that's going to happen when you got Waddle, Devontae Smith, Michie that are back there. These guys are going to make great catches.
And that's where it goes back to Matt Jones' throwing ability is like we haven't seen with Tua, Jalen. I mean, I'd probably say I would go back as far as what's his name?
AJ McCarron.
AJ McCarron. Because AJ McCarron had one of the best arms I've seen at Alabama in a long time. Matt Jones has that same arm, probably better.
Yeah.
Because of who his receivers are. Which, granted, AJ did have Julio Jones, but that's your one real big standout.
Yeah.
Whereas right now you got two huge standouts, a third one in the spotlight, and a running back and a tight end that are waiting in the shadows.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have a lot of weapons on offense that Georgia's defense has to account for, and that's going to put a lot of pressure on his back four for Georgia. And if those back four do not step up this game, that's going to be the difference.
Yeah.
In this game, I will say right now, those back four for Georgia.
And it's like I said.
That secondary for Georgia has to play the best game in their college careers against these receivers.
Now, you're talking about one of the best that is in the SEC, and Richard LeCount that's back there. You do have at least a lockdown guy back there. Eric Stokes has showed up to be one of the key defensive guys there for the Dogs as well. He's got a couple of interceptions on the year. So those two guys alone, you do have some good playmakers back there. One of the ones, Tyson Campbell, he always makes me nervous because he's always the one that I watch a pass go up. And I watch him staring at the player instead of looking back at the ball. And what do I see? Yellow coming out of the ref's pocket because he never turns around and looks at the ball. And I'm afraid that's one of the guys I'm going to have to worry about. We have guys, Nakobe Dean, a couple other guys that come in and back that up. But I will say, like I said earlier, and just kind of coming back to it was Alabama will look better offensively. Well, offensively, you're still going to look good. But their defense is also going to look better. Playing Georgia, they always step up, and it's just a different game. It's a slower-paced game. They can keep up more. And
it's old school football is what it is.
And it's good. Like I say, it should be a hard-nosed fight. I will be very surprised if either team came out and just whooped one or the other. I'd be very, very surprised if that happened. This should be a really, really tight game, and I'm most definitely looking forward to it. Night game, one of the biggest matchups of the decade, really. Even though we're really just now kind of getting into the 20s, obviously, but just a really good overall game. And my most exciting thing, like I said, because the funny thing is, we've got a powerhouse defense. Y'all have a powerhouse offense. Boom, they butt heads. Look at the other side of the ball. Georgia's offense is pretty good, and then Alabama's defense is pretty good. Both sides of the ball, you've got good playmakers.
You're gonna have
to go out there and play. Yes, so it's. I'm extremely excited for this game, and I'm really, really looking forward to it. Was there anything else we had talked about? I know we talked about Nick Saban with the coronavirus, obviously, not being able to talk to everybody. We've talked a little bit about how we feel like some of the fans are going to act and how they should act.
Yeah.
We've talked about just about every depth of the game. I mean, y'all seem to have a kicker now for the Hope. In most part, we've got a good kicker back.
It's early, man. Don't put that jinx on us. That's all I'm saying is don't jinx it now.
It can happen. Like, you can eventually get a good kicker. I think Nick Saban learned 4 years ago, I should probably have a kicker, and he finally got him one in the ranks.
I will say, the one thing, again, that will save us is going to be special teams punter.
Special teams is going to make a difference in the game.
I think, just looking at the way their special teams have been this year on kickoff, For us, I think they said he's only allowed 3 or no, I think like 5 actual returns on kickoff. The rest of them have been into the end zone.
Yeah.
So it's just, I'm trying to pull up the statistics for Alabama real quick. If you were just going by book numbers, you couldn't pick this number on books. My internet connection is unstable.
Yeah, I was gonna say I lost you for a second there.
But I think that's the biggest thing is our special teams is once again gonna save us.
Yeah.
I mean, Reinhardt right now is batting 1,000, but his longest one's been 34 yards.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, that's a test now.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think what's going to save us is going to be our defense.
Yeah. And we'll see.
Because we need, if Dylan Moses can step up, which he needs to this game, you're looking for him to step up, Christian Harris to step up, and Daniel Wright at safety.
Yeah.
Christian Harris and Daniel Wright are going to be tested in that secondary. Dylan Moses is going to be tested as a leader on that defense.
Mm-hmm.
So
kind of in wrapping up, back on what you were just talking about, special teams is going to make a key difference. And these are a couple of things we talked about, but the punting game is going to make a big difference. Y'all have got a good punter that can put us in deep position. Same the opposite side of it. So both of those we get to match up really well. Y'all have a good field goal kicker so far. Ours is good. He's missed a couple. He's got a long now, I think, of like 51 though. So he's coming along. Return game. We can return. We've got a kid who keeps returning good balls. Y'all are the same way. We match up in so many different aspects. The side of the ball that's going to make a difference, and like I said, I think I told you about this earlier. If Georgia can score 4 offensive touchdowns, I think Georgia can win the game because I think the defense is going to be able to do enough to be able to hold that and possibly get a defensive score, a couple of field goals in there. But if Georgia's offense can get 4 offensive touchdowns, it's going to be tough for Georgia to lose. I say tough, but they should win it. Now, the keys of the game, third down. You have to convert on third down to make a difference. Those special team turnovers, same thing. Those are just small key points of hard-nosed, true football that's got to happen to make the biggest difference in it. You got any more on the game before we jump into MadDawg's Pick of the Week as well as our own so we can kind of wrap up here?
I'll say my key for the game. My keys for Georgia is defensively get a stop in the first 2 downs. Make Alabama have long third downs. If you give them short third downs, they're going to pretty much convert pretty well on those. Yeah. You have to force Bama to have long third downs. Offensively for Georgia, get the ball moving. Get it out of the backfield quick and put pressure on that secondary for Bama.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they're young, but you have to put pressure on them. If you don't get pressure on that secondary, our secondary, I think, is, to me, I feel is one of the best open field tackling teams as far as one-on-one tackling.
Yeah.
But even then, those front 4 for Alabama, they can get pressure in that backfield.
Oh, yeah.
They can force those runs outside.
Yeah. One good thing I will say about Stetson that I'm excited about is he is actually a guy who can at least get outside of the pocket and still throw the ball, which is something Georgia hadn't had in the past.
Oh, yeah. But this game, he's going to be tested on that because if he gets outside the pocket, I'm willing to bet Dylan Moses is going to be in a quarterback spot for probably half the game watching that quarterback. And if one Bama guy can get to you, or make you think about running, you're going to have 3 more right behind him quick.
Yeah.
So Georgia has to get the ball moving quick. For Alabama, our defense, get to third down and hold it.
Yeah.
Do not let third down convict. I mean,
Yeah.
they've been giving up third downs against Ole Miss all the time,
Yeah.
and stop the big play. You know, these little screen passes for 50 yards. Come on now, that shouldn't have happened.
Yeah. And the other
Get the
thing,
stop on defense.
yeah, like you said there, and key point for Alabama as well is going to be stopping the run game. If Georgia can if Alabama can limit Georgia to having to rely on the arm of Stetson Bennett or whoever they put in there, and they stop the run game, it's going to make it a lot harder for yeah, it's going to make it a lot harder, and it's going to make it a lot easier on your defense to be able to say, okay, we've pretty much stopped the run. Now we've just got to prepare for the over the top game. So I'm excited, man. This is going to be such a good game.
Force Georgia to make those throws.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I hope it is at least.
And I've got a feeling that's going to be the game plan coming into
offense.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, but I will say too that the key for Alabama's offense, I think, to me, is getting Mac the protection he needs to make plays.
Yeah.
If Mac has time in the pocket, he's dangerous.
Yeah.
Georgia has to get to him quick.
Oh, yeah.
And reverse of that, Bama has to give him protection.
Yeah.
If Georgia does not put pressure on Matt Jones, that's going to kill that secondary for Georgia.
And it's going to
happen. The longer he has time to stick it in and throw,
yeah,
I'm sure we'll see. You'll see probably, I'll say, one or two big passes early from Matt Jones just to test that secondary. And if they get away with it, it's going to be a long night for that Georgia secondary.
Oh yeah, and
I'm sure.
I think the Dogs' defense, the key is going to be what it's always been. It's going to be put pressure on the quarterback, stop the run, make them throw to you. The difference is with Alabama, they can throw. That's where you have to rely heavily on your secondary to be able to stop it. And just like you said, if you give Mac Jones time, our secondary, it doesn't matter if our secondary is or is not good. Those wide receivers, if you give them enough time, they're going to find a hole out there to get in. So it's all about get to the quarterback, stop the run game for Georgia's defense. And the same exact thing, I think, for Alabama's defense. Get to the quarterback, stop the run, make us rely on the arm. That's going to be kind of the key points for both defenses.
I think if Alabama can force Georgia to rely on that passing game, it's going to hurt them.
Yeah.
Because then you're going to wear out the receivers.
It's very well possible.
Nothing against Georgia receivers. They're great, but they don't have the speed to match.
Yeah.
The defensive wise that
possible.
Bama's offense has. Yeah, possible.
Possible. We haven't seen outside of the Auburn game. You saw a couple of times Georgia's wide receivers got well beyond the secondary. The only downfall there was one of the passes was Stetson couldn't get the ball where it needed to be for it to be an easy catch in the end zone. Now, again, we'll see. We'll see.
But
we'll see.
Stetson has to make those throws.
Oh, yeah, for sure. You got to hit it on the dime, for sure.
I think that's going to be the biggest key there is if he does not make those throws,
yep,
it's going to be this game. We'll go ahead and do our picks now. If you're good with that, we'll go ahead and start with this game. Picks.
Yeah. I'm game on that. I'll tell you what. I'm gonna go ahead and pull up MadDawg's picks first for us. That we'll bring up. I'll get us a little bit of juice coming on here. There we go. Get it pulled up for me. Let me hit this button right here because my thing quit earlier. Let me just double check. All right, we're good. MadDawg's picks of the weeks. Boom. Here we go. He's taking Georgia with the win. I know he's taking Georgia with the win over Alabama. He's not doing any point spreads or anything. All we're doing this week is picking games. We're not doing point spreads, stuff like that. He does give Georgia the win over Alabama, and he also gives Auburn the win over South Carolina. His record's 2-4. Doesn't look the greatest, but I mean, what can you do? Now, bring it up on the screen for us. Holden and Cody's weekly picks right here.
Last week was just I don't even remember what my picks were.
For this week?
Oh, let me go back to the games.
For this week you talking about?
Yeah.
Here, I'll pull it up for you. Cody's picks. Boom. Put it on the screen for you.
Well, I can't see them.
Well, I know. I'm going to tell you. He's 3 for 2 so far on the year. He's picking the Georgia-Alabama game. He's going to take Alabama 38-35, a shootout. By a field goal.
Oh, yeah.
Let me run through your other two, and you can talk about it real quick. He's got Ole Miss getting the big win over Arkansas, even though Arkansas's defense was looking all right, and Texas A&M getting the win over Mississippi State 21-10. Cody, tell me what you're feeling about him. About your picks there.
Okay, so here's my logic behind my picks, guys. The Arkansas-Ole Miss game. Arkansas is good, but they can't last all 4 quarters against Ole Miss. I think Ole Miss is. I feel Ole Miss's offense, if they come out with the same game plan that they did against Bama, where they come out fast-paced, punch-mouth football, Arkansas is not going to be able to hold it.
Yeah.
Sam Pittman and the Hogs just won't be able to stand up to that resistant or I lost a word. Anyways, we'll just draw a blank on that one.
Yeah, roll on.
But I believe Arkansas is on, or Ole Miss is gonna take that one. As far as A&M and my computer's being retarded.
A&M Mississippi State, you got A&M 21-10 and
A&M Mississippi State. Yeah, I think Kelly Mond there and A&M and the Aggies, they're going to Mississippi State, but I think they come out, swinging and putting pressure on those Bulldogs.
The Braves win again.
So that's my logic. No, it's about Clay. Just with those 2 teams, and I know I went with both Mississippi State teams or Mississippi teams, which is kind of ironic.
Yeah.
The best matchups I saw.
I got you.
Honestly.
All right, well, I'm going to jump into mine unless you got anything else on
those games are going to be interesting to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
All right, so here's the other ones. We decided I'm going to keep it simple this week. I'm going to pick the same ones that he's got picked. Put them up on the screen for you here. So far, 5-2 on the season. The only reason is because I picked a couple more games that week that Cody was out. Georgia, I'm giving us the win, 30-24. Interesting number on this one. The line first came out, I think it was like 7.5, and then it dropped to about 6, and it pretty much lingered at 6, Alabama being the point favorite. And when Nick Saban came down and announced that he had the coronavirus, that number fell as far as 3.5 to 4.
He decided to make.
Yeah, I know. That number dropped all the way down basically to 4 and sat there, and I think it's now at like 4.5. I thought that this one would be like 26-24, kind of like an 0-2 rematch. But I think because of that, I think that's enough to give you at least 3 or 4 more extra points there. So give me the Dogs 30-24. Same thing, Ole Miss, Arkansas. I think Arkansas is going to squeak it out. I think the defense is going to find a way to stand up and make a bit of a comeback there at the end and win it by 31-30. Texas A&M, Mississippi State, same thing. I think Mississippi State's going to come out strong, but then I think A&M's defense stands up and Kelly Mond starts to fire again. They get the win 24-17 going into the game there. So that's our picks on the week. Hopefully you guys agree with them. If not, yeah, so be it. We got a couple of good games this week, but obviously the biggest one to look forward to is that 8 o'clock Alabama-Georgia game there.
Oh, yeah. Come 8 o'clock, I'm turning everything off. I'm going to be MIA for about 2 hours.
You know, the good thing about it is the Braves play at like 4:30, so we get to watch the Braves before it, and then we'll be able to watch the game in all entirety, as long as the Braves don't do anything crazy. And fingers crossed for either you or I, the Braves get the win. At least we got good news whether one of us wins or loses tomorrow. And like I said before, even though I'm a Georgia fan, I want Georgia to win every game possible. But if Georgia was to lose to Alabama, I'd rather lose now than I would in December. I may have lost Cody. Cody, are you with me? He's frozen. He's just staring at me. Anyways, we got him back.
That's how you are. You're like.
There you go. All right, talk to me now. Sorry.
Okay. I don't remember what I said. Oh, I said,
He froze again. Why? Why do we have these issues?
Goes.
Anyways, what I was saying was though, if as much as a Georgia fan as I am, I would rather lose to Alabama now than I would in December late. So that's pretty much all we got. Cody, you
Oh yeah.
You good? There we go.
I'm kind of in and out.
I see that.
I don't know.
We're pretty much wrapping up anyway. So let's wrap it up here.
Okay. Like No, I'll do it for a third time. I said Sunday may be a 1-man depending on how Saturday goes.
Yeah, there you go. Well, you guys follow us on Facebook and Twitter at SEC Talk 20. Shoot us a message, whatever you guys would like over there. Again, we're pretty much good with whatever you guys want to shoot our way. Let us know whatever you guys are thinking. Looking forward to the game this upcoming weekend. Again, Dogs and Tide taking on each other. It's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it. I'm so excited. And what a big game. I hope it's a good game. You know, I hope that it really is that headbutt. And I don't want it to go to overtime. My heart can't handle that. But I hope it's a good, tough, close fight game. So, looking forward to it. Go Dogs on my end. I know what you'll say. Maybe nothing if your Zoom keeps cutting off.
What?
I said, outside of that, I'm out. Go Dogs.
All I heard was overtime and it cut out.
I know what you'll say on
Oh,
that.
that's the Roll Tide.
Yeah, there you go. That's a pretty good thing to say.
No, what were you saying before? I didn't hear what you said about overtime.
I said I don't want it to go to overtime because my heart can't handle that.
Again.
All right, we're done. We're done. I'm out. This is SEC Talk with Holden and Cody. I'm tired of this thing cutting out. The podcast is gone. The podcast is gonna sound bad because it keeps cutting out, and it's been a good show. Outside of that, you guys, we really appreciate you guys listening, and we're out. That's all there is to it. We'll holler at you guys later. Peace out.